Okay, so we'll talk about your trip here, and I think we're set. All right, here we go. Welcome to episode 2427 of the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rallman from BeOurGuestPodcast.com and one of the senior agents over at the Magic for Less Travel. Happy Monday to you. Hope you had a great weekend. I know, just a 2-day weekend. It's rough, right? 48 quick hours, but hey, we're back at the grind and we're going to get you out the door and down the road with a fun trip report. And I know it's it's not as cold as it's been most places, but it's still wintertime. And we're going to give you some warm thoughts here on today's show because we're going to talk about one of my favorite resorts with South Seas ideas and palm trees and all that good stuff. So we're going to have a great time. We're heading up to Canada today, which I love. I mean, this time of year makes me think of the Maple Leafs, the Montreal Canadiens, if you're like thinking out west, the Oilers, the Calgary Flames, the Canucks.
Yep.
I always say, man, best hockey played up north, even though I'm a Blues fan. We have Julius.
Yeah.
Julius, thanks for coming on the show today. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. It's I was on. I haven't talked to you in a few years, but yeah, it's been a while since I've been on. But so I'm very excited to talk about finally taking another trip down to Disney World.
I'm so glad to have you. So you were up in the vicinity of Toronto, and here as we are, I think it's real close to the Hockey All-Star break in the NHL. Just a little background on are you a hockey fan? I mean, Hockey Hall of Fame up in Toronto. So what's the situation up there?
Yeah, I'm kind of a passive Leafs fan. I'm not the biggest hockey fan. Baseball is my favorite. So I mean, right now I'm kind of in that mode of refreshing Twitter every few minutes to see if the Blue Jays have finally done something or not. Just looking forward to pitchers and catchers reporting in less than a month, right? So yeah, that's exciting for me. So
yeah. As of recording right now, it's a month from the Cardinals because I'm a big Cardinals fan here in St. Louis. 1 month from today, we Cardinals play baseball. So, the frozen tundra will be behind us here shortly. It's always a great sign of spring. And I just gotta say, man, I've always kind of been a Jays fan, like on the outside, because it seems they do it right. And lately they really tend to like to take our Cardinals. You guys, you have an affinity for our players. So
those
guys up there.
Yeah, it was a lot of trades last year. I think it was 3 trades between them last year. And even going back a few years before that, like Randall Grichuk too, and Colby Rasmus a few years before that as well. So they're definitely match up quite a bit on trades. I would have liked to have seen them re-sign Jordan Hicks, but he wanted to be a starter, right? So he went elsewhere. But
yeah, I know he's not a starter. I mean, the guy wants to be a starter. Like he is committed to that. He's been. I know it's in Sports Open Line, but I'm just saying he's committed to being a starter. The dude can throw 107 miles an hour. Just throw it for a couple innings, dude. Just be who you are. You can throw the ball through a brick wall.
Yeah, for sure.
Just throw it for an inning and make your millions.
Yeah.
Just knock off the starting thing. It didn't work anyway. And I just gotta say, Jays. Probably the coolest logo of all time. As a kid, I just loved, I wanted a Jays hat.
Nice.
There's some classic ones, but the Jays have just like the coolest logo. It's awesome. It just makes you love them. But as a kid, that's like because I always had the I don't know if you guys, because you're real quick, the base, those cheap little plastic helmets that you could get as a kid, the batting helmets. I had
definitely have one of them.
The Jays one. That was like the holy grail. I never got one.
Nice. That's too bad. If I find one, I'll send one to you. I don't think I have one anymore, but yeah.
With a little brown like rig on the inside that would adjust for your head. Man, the good old days. That sounds like a Mike in the Midwest episode. Anyway, let's talk about your background with Disney, though, because it has been a few years. We're going to talk about your trip, but how's the passion for Disney get started for you? And you were a Disney podcast. You kind of put it on hiatus there because you got a small child now, and I understand how life gets busy, but just kind of fill us in there.
Yeah. So, I mean, the very first time I ever went down Disney, I was in the mid '90s with my family, and we drove down in our minivan, and it was, but I wasn't terribly into it at the time. Like, I enjoyed the rides and everything, but I wasn't all about like, the whole Disney thing. For me, it really kind of kicked off as an adult. My wife and I went for our honeymoon in 2011, not to Disney World, but to Universal Studios, to Wizarding World of Harry Potter, because we were both big Harry Potter fans. We met while we were working in a bookstore as well, and but then we decided, hey, like, next year, why don't we do both Universal and Disney? And yeah, just we started going down that planning rabbit hole, reading all the guides, starting to listen to the podcasts and everything, and basically we were hooked at that point. We went down in 2012, and then we started going every year since until 2015, and then we kind of put that on hiatus for a bit when my son was born, but I've been kind of in that living Disney every day kind of thing since then, whether it's listening to podcasts or reading books, watching YouTube videos of a lot of the vloggers down in the parks on a daily basis. I've got, Disney Legos and all that kind of thing. So yeah, definitely really into it kind of on a daily basis.
Let me add this, always kind of think a hard question to answer, but I like to ask it because this is just one of those curiosities for me. When I love talking to people about the fandom. If you had to describe what it is that keeps you engaged with something like Walt Disney World, like the parks, for me, I mean, just for example, for me, it's the logisticals. It's the logistics of a place like Walt Disney World. It's 24/7, 365. They have their own buses. They have their own roads. Everything's manicured perfectly. Just how this place carries on, it never stops. Like that is what really blows me away, and it's so deep. There's so much to it. But what is it for you? Because I think it's a different thing for everybody. So what is it that kind of drives your fascination for everything?
I think that a huge part of it is just the attention to detail overall. It's the I love the fact that everything has a backstory. Even if you go into a place like Dinoland USA, for example, like, a lot of people kind of walk in there and just see, what they think are off the shelf carnival rides and, maybe some cheesy dinosaurs and that kind of thing. But there's a whole backstory to that land. And, it's just having done a Disney podcast as well, where I was kind of focusing on the historical aspect of the parks, just getting to really research all of that, all those backstories and find out just the sheer attention to detail that gets paid to everything that goes on there, is it's just one of those things that's just kind of hooked me in, and also just the when you're going into an attraction like Pirates of the Caribbean and seeing all of the however many dozens of animatronics they've got in there, and all the the costuming, the detail on their faces, that kind of thing, like that all just really kind of makes me think about how much work went into it, how much imagination went into it, and that I think that's just one of the things that just keeps driving me back in.
That is so true. I mean, because you cannot, in most places, a hot dog stand is a hot dog stand, right?
Exactly.
I mean, it is what it is. But at Walt Disney World, there's a story behind the hot dog stand, right? I mean, there's a whole.
Sure.
This is why it looks like this way, So let me ask you this, just an aside before we get into the trip. Have you ever made the trek out west to Disneyland yet?
Not yet. We were kind of debating it this time around, for my son's first trip, whether we were going to go west or just go down to Florida. We opted for Florida just because, no time difference, and the flight's about half as long, and we know Walt Disney World already as well. Whereas, even though Disneyland is very compact and everything is right there, we just thought to ourselves, well, we don't really know it, so it might not make a ton of sense for us to, since we won't know our way around and everything as well, right?
From everything you said, though, I mean, because with the attention to detail, I'm just telling, because I mean, I'm still new to Disneyland, but I mean, just the layers of everything out there, just below. Because I mean, Walt Disney World is exactly like you said. There's so much detail and everything, but Disneyland was like that, just just a little bit deeper, even. I don't know, because of the longer history, right? And
for sure,
all the stories, so I was just thinking of you, like, because I just got back from there, that you would appreciate it so much. Like,
I definitely would.
You would go so slow through the park. You'd be like, I can't. You'd be stuck on Main Street for like 5 hours. Like, you would never make it to the partner statue. It's
for sure.
It's amazing. All right, so let's talk about your trip though. So tell us when the trip took place and how it all came together, and then we'll kind of talk about the details of it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we went down this past May, middle of May, 2023, and the way it kind of started actually was even like going back to 2019 because we had a trip planned for 2019. I think it was like end of August, early September, which is time of year that we've gone down a couple times before. So we knew that it's hurricane season, but it's also obviously like a cheaper time of year to go and less busy and everything. But then Hurricane Dorian was kind of supposed or predicted to make a direct hit on Orlando. So we canceled basically a couple days before we were supposed to head down. And then we thought, well, we'll go in the spring. Then COVID happened. So we had to delay a few years. But yeah, this year we finally, decided to pull the trigger on it. Disney finally, started to release some post-pandemic promos and discounts and that kind of thing. So we just decided this was the year to try to make it down.
So when you guys plan the trip, and it finally starts to, the time's right. It's, post pandemic, everything looks like it's, this is go time finally. It's long delayed. How do you guys plan? I mean, do you talk with your wife and decide like, okay, we're gonna like deciding on a hotel and deciding on again locking in the dates, within the time period you're thinking about going? Like, what's your planning like, and what kind of tools do you tend to go to?
Yeah, a big thing for us is trying to get down there at a time of year where it's not going to be as busy. Also, just trying to kind of keep an eye on the weather and see, like what's a good time of year to go in terms of weather and everything. But yeah, for us, the amount of people in the parks is kind of like a bigger consideration. So we looked at a bunch of crowd calendars and read some blogs and that kind of thing just to kind of suss out when might be a good time of year to go in the spring. So that's kind of how we decided on the time that we wanted to go. And then in terms of the the resort, we were looking at a bunch of different iterations because obviously there's a pretty big price differential between the deluxes and somewhere like Port Orleans, which we've stayed at before, or even like one of the value resorts. But Polynesian Village had been on our bucket list for so many years, and we just thought our kids going to get a big kick out of it as well. And so we thought for first time going down there, let's do it. Let's do the bucket list item. And they also just had things like the pull down or the pull out bed and just kind of some better amenities and that kind of thing too that we thought would be helpful.
Now, how old was your son on this trip? Just so we
6.
Okay, sick. Yeah, man, perfect age.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So you guys, I think everybody tuned in today. A lot of folks probably listening at Polynesian, they've probably done it. That's one of the few resorts like that one in the Contemporary. I've never stayed there. But I've, how many times have I eaten at Kona or Captain Cook's, or just passed through, like had an outdoor Dole Whip, out by the pool or something. Everybody has to go there and hang out, but everybody that's passed through always wants to stay at the Poly because you see it in all the promos. And it's just quintessential Disney. And it's definitely, you mentioned bucket list items. So let's have a quick review of what you thought. Did it meet? I think a lot of us I'm kind of worried, right? Because, I'm 50 years old now. Like I'm old and like I've had this expectation as long as I've been in the Disney fandom. And I'm, I get scared when I have, something that I've looked forward to this long that it just, at this point, I worry that it wouldn't meet my expectations because I've wanted to do this so long. So I hope it did for you guys. I don't know. How was it for you?
Oh, it definitely met our expectations. And I think the part of it too is because we we weren't at one of the, kind of further out houses. We were at Rarotonga, which is like not even like a stone's throw away from the main building. Like you could like roll a stone and hit the main building, right? It was right there, which was just perfect in terms of logistics, getting to the monorail, getting in to Captain Cook's to grab breakfast and that kind of thing. It just kind of hit all the marks on that. The resort itself is just so beautiful. You want to spend time there as well. We've stayed in a Value before. We've stayed at All Star for a couple nights, and it was kind of one of those things where we weren't necessarily itching to get back to the hotel, but with with the Poly, we were like, it's great to, come back and spend some time, get in the pools, and just enjoy the resort as a whole. So yeah, definitely met our expectations for sure.
That's yeah, because I mean, I have hung out there a little bit because friends have stayed there. I know, we played poolside games there one 4th of July
Yeah.
because we're the Foresters were staying there. They had some other friends staying there, and we played a little Scrabble, I forget, we were playing Yahtzee poolside at the Polynesian. That pool, just watching everybody going down the slides and just having a good old time. I mean, it's just such a great atmosphere.
Yeah,
we were
for sure.
just having and we had a rule that if you got a Yahtzee, you had to immediately do just a plank into the pool. I mean,
Nice.
we weren't really swimming in the pool, but that was the rule. If you got a Yahtzee, you had to go directly into the pool. And we have a videotape of that somewhere. So
Nice.
lots of fun. But okay, so that was good. Now, let's talk about the touring of the parks. So you guys were there when the crowds were lower and hopefully nice weather. So you had all these good considerations. I hope it kind of all played out. So how was touring during this time?
Well, it was very interesting. So first of all, weather-wise, not a drop of rain, which is so rare for Florida. The entire like 6 days that we were there, not a drop of rain. It was hot, sunny the whole time, which was great in terms of touring. Sometimes it was a bit too hot, especially like when you're toting a 6-year-old around and they're getting tired and everything, and they just want to go. But yeah, touring was, I mean, like, it's funny because my son's got an early bedtime. He's just one of those kids that goes to sleep early, and that didn't change at the parks either. He just like he didn't want to come back to the resort to have a rest in the middle of the day. He wanted to just keep going. We thought, that's fine. We'll just kind of like do our few hours in the parks, and then head back. We'll have dinner. He can crash, and then basically one of us could then go out to the parks and have a bit of an evening on our own, that kind of thing. So we did that as well. So that it ended up working out pretty well, because we pretty much did, I would say, 80%, 85% of the things that we kind of wanted to do, and didn't have any issues in terms of like touring the parks or anything like that. So.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that because I saw you provided some great notes to kind of lead the conversation today, and I know you noted that later on that you were able to kind of sneak out after your son returns, like sneaking out, and especially with the location, staying at the Poly, just hop the monorail, boom, you're at the Magic Kingdom, and you can do a whole bunch of rides real quick, and really enjoyed it because Magic Kingdom's awesome at night. But I was going to ask you, with your son as a 6-year-old, as far as in the parks, like attractions, character interactions, like what did you learn that worked well that maybe you would like to pass on to our guests? Because so many of our guests are maybe going for the first time with a child in that like preschool, early elementary school age, and they don't really know what they're getting themselves into, and this could really be a great resource for them.
Yeah, I think a big thing is having snacks, because he definitely got hangry a couple of times, and you got to try to fend that off as quickly as possible, right?
That happens to the best of us, man.
It happens to me as well. He takes after me. But yeah, so that was important for sure. I think being flexible is just one of the biggest things as well, because I know we had there was one day that we were at the Magic Kingdom, and we had our Genie Plus reservation for Jungle Cruise coming up in about an hour or so, and we thought, well, like we'll kind of hang around Adventureland for a bit. Maybe we'll do Tiki Room, like we'll do Magic Carpet of Aladdin, and we went on Magic Carpets, went around, got off. He wanted to do it again. Went on, got off, wanted to do it again. So we did it 3 times in a row, because he wanted to see us get spit by the camel, basically. So it was just one of those things where I'm like, it's not my favorite ride, but I mean, he's having the time of his life, and that was just so important. We didn't realize also how in love he was going to be with all of the characters that he met. So then it became like where we thought maybe we're going to do like 1 character greet a day or something like that, turned into doing 3 or 4. And just having that flexibility was really important, because that was basically his favorite thing to do. One thing that I wasn't planning on was the fact that he just didn't want to do any shows. so didn't want to do Festival of the Lion King, didn't want to do Enchanted Tales with Belle, which is too bad because I was really hoping maybe I could do some participation in that.
Yeah, because you would have been a knight, dude. Everybody's
for sure.
I've been a knight like 4 times in that show.
yeah. So I was really hoping that was going to be the time, and no, but yeah, he's didn't want to do any shows, and like he loves cars, but didn't want to do the Lightning McQueen shows either. So and Muppets, same with Muppets, and I love Muppets. So it was just one of those things where it's kind of like, look, in the past, we had our vacation when it was just the two of us, but now it's also his vacation, and being kind of like flexible with that and sensitive to that, I think is a really key part. Not necessarily giving into everything, letting them have their way the entire time, but also just kind of understanding that, hey, like this is their first time there, and there's just some really magical stuff happening, and they want to keep doing it. So
in your son's defense, I remember when I was about his age, maybe a couple years older, they had a few shows at our Six Flags, and I hated going to the show.
Yeah.
They had something called the Chevy Show at our Six Flags, and really what it was like a domed little building, and it was sponsored by Chevrolet.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was 3D. I don't know. It was something where they just like, you kind of looked around, they drove cars around, like, and you were just like kind of like on bench seating, and like everybody, like my parents always wanted to go to it, and I'm like, no, man, there's all these rides. Like,
yeah,
what are we doing? Like, we could ride, the mine train roller coaster. We could ride the Momo, the Munster. There was like an octopus ride. We could do all the bumper cars. Like, why are we wasting our time on the Chevy Show? Or going to see, I don't know, the divers. They had divers back in the day. I was like,
nice.
Grandma wants to go see that. So I'm with your son. I get it. So let me ask you this though about the attraction. So how did you balance? Because I'm sure because I think you said in here, like some of the e-tickets, like Rise and Guardians. And I mean, did you guys get to experience that? Did you just kind of do, one stays with your son? How do you kind of get to do those type of attractions throughout the trip?
Yeah, so in terms of the e-tickets, there was only a couple that my son was interested in doing. He gets a bit of motion sickness, so we were trying to be kind of like really sensitive with that, because obviously then if he starts throwing up or something, then we might have to shut the day down, right? So so we don't want that to happen. We did try Flight of Passage because we were at Animal Kingdom the second day that we were there, first full day that we were there, and he enjoyed it, but he said my tummy bothered me a little bit sometimes, and so we were kind of tried to be sensitive to that. So there was a lot of times where like my wife and I would switch off. When she went to do Tron, I was on Buzz Lightyear with him, and then then she did People Mover with him while I went on Tron, and that kind of thing. So we managed to get all of the e-tickets done that we wanted to do, except I wasn't able to ride Ratatouille, but that was it. So it ended up working out pretty well in that regard.
And you said Rise, best attraction you've ever.
Yes.
I'm with you, because it's so multidimensional, right? I mean, it's like you're in this section. Okay, well, it's continuing on with we're going to kind of pause here and have like a story with, a live character interaction. Okay, now we're back on something that's almost like a ride. Now we're in a totally different type of an experience. And it's now that we've had it for a few years, I think people are starting to take it for granted a little bit, but that first couple of times you get to experience it, it's just like, wow, this is something I've never seen before.
Yeah, for sure. And there's, I mean, like, I think that because we've been down there a few times in the last few years, there's, not a lot that's new. So it's like, when you're writing something for the 20th time, like you still love it, you still appreciate it a lot. But there's not that element of surprise anymore. Like, with Rise, it was just like, to me, I was just like I didn't know what to expect. For the last few years, I've stayed away from the spoiler videos and everything because I didn't want to know what it was. I wanted to experience it fresh for the first time. And I'm really glad that I did it that way, because going on it and just like being surprised by everything that happened on it, and understanding kind of how ride mechanisms work and stuff like that too, like the fact that a lot of it was just so seamless and everything was like so impressive. I'm glad that we got to do it though, because it was the ride was down for about 3.5 hours that day, when we had our lightning lanes for it as well. So, but then we were kind of just refreshing our phone every so often to see when it was going to come back online. And as soon as it was back, we happened to be pretty close to Galaxy's Edge, so we just kind of ran in and my wife did it first, and then I did it, and yeah, I was so glad that we got to do it, because yeah, we're getting worried that we might not have been able to squeeze it in that day. So
I hear you, and I appreciate that you try to stay away from the spoilers, because I do too, and it's like
yeah,
it's hard as somebody who this is what I do for a living, like all day, every day. Like I'm in the Disney stuff constantly, and it's like it's really hard to not go down that rabbit hole of like, oh man, everybody's talking about it, but
yeah,
I want it. I don't want my first experience with a new attraction to be like a YouTube video. Like I
yes,
want to.
exactly,
That's why I think I fell in love with Disneyland, right? Because like I had, I'd listened to all the old Webway radio shows and,
Mhm.
I'd heard history of Disneyland. But for the most part, I did kind of stay away from, like, I'd never seen an Alice in Wonderland ride through or anything like
Okay,
that.
yeah,
And so as wacky as that ride is, like it was all new. And, I
yeah,
did code way back when I was in 5th grade at World one times, but so that was long gone. But, you get all these new experiences and you don't know what to expect, and that you only get that once, so
yes,
you don't want to have it on YouTube. So I like that about you. Now, you mentioned one thing, kind of follow up here. So you guys were using Genie Plus, and
yeah.
so what's your review of that? I mean, because you had been times before that with
Mhm.
Fast Pass Plus. I mean,
Yeah.
how would you rate that?
Yeah, I mean, I still miss Fast Pass, a little bit. I
Me too, man.
Yeah, yeah, just the flexibility and I mean, I hate paying for it.
Yeah,
That's the thing. But if they just kind of copied Fast Pass and just charged you for it, it would have been better than kind of all the,
agreed.
the mess that they had trying to figure out kind of how to do it this way. But I mean, for the most part, though, it helped us get onto the attractions we wanted to get onto. Like, we were able to do everything we want to with fairly minimal waits for the time of year and everything like that. And then doing lightning lane for a few attractions, and paying a few extra bucks for that too was also kind of tough, but nice in the sense that we were able to do those attractions and kind of guaranteed doing things like Tron and Guardians and Seven Dwarfs Mine Train and Rise of the Resistance, which is some of the ones that we really wanted to do. We didn't do any park hopping, so I mean we did save the money on that. So it was basically kind of like a reallocation of the funds that we would have spent on park hopping, to do these. So I mean, at the end of the day, it was kind of evened out anyways.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are doing that. Like they're just
Yeah,
deciding how am I going to take my bucket of money, and like, or I got 3 buckets. Where am I going to put the money? It's the same amount of money, but park hopping,
yeah,
individual lightning lanes, Genie Plus. How we going to do this? It really does kind of the thing that gets me. It's just my opinion on things, because it is like a guarantee. Say you're a huge Cosmic Rewind fan, which I'm fortunately, as one, I can't believe I'm saying this. Fortunately, I get a little motion sick, so I can't. I've given up on Cosmic. I've tried it twice, and both times it nailed me. I'm just, it's not for me. I know it's an amazing attraction because I've been on it twice, but it just makes me just slightly ill, and I just don't need that at a theme park. But the thing is, I just don't want to pay. Like I've paid an admission cost that's pretty high to get into that theme park. And it just gets me that I have to pay additional to do an attraction that is inside that theme park that I paid to get into that day.
yeah,
However, it is a guarantee that I'm going to get to ride that day. You know what I'm saying? But
yes,
it's just like, if you'd have told me that 10 years ago, I said, you're crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just one of those things logically. I know the world's changed in the last decade, but when I look back on things, I think that's the thing, is you just got to have a different mindset, right? You
yeah.
can't look back some days. I think it's kind of what you're saying too. It is what it is at this point, but we wish it could be a little bit different.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and it's kind of one of those interesting things that a company like Disney's kind of able to get away with in terms of conditioning their customer to
Right. You just
accepting
don't think about it.
change, right? And
Because I think when you're in the park, right, it's almost like it's not money, right? It's like
yeah,
you're getting it on it's an app,
yeah,
it's like a virtual credit or something. And,
yeah,
you're thinking, oh, well, I'm just going to do it. It's tied to my credit card. It's not
yeah.
money, but it is. Okay. So let's talk dining, because you guys had some really
Yes.
cool dining experiences. So thinking back, what worked well for you? What were some of your better meals? Either, quick service, table service. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I mean, like a lot of 6-year-olds, my son's favorite foods are pizza and noodles with butter.
Nothing wrong with that either. I'm just saying.
Nope, nothing wrong with that. I mean, well, for me, I can't eat dairy, so I mean that it does work for me as well. But what we found was like we did Pizzafari the day that we were at Animal Kingdom, and like my wife and I never eaten there before, but I mean it was just that day it was exactly what we needed for just like a quick meal that was gonna be easy to do, and go down well, and it was perfect, right? And like they give you the little oranges as well, and instead of fries or whatever it is, and like it was just a great kind of recharge in the middle of the day, just like go and get some quick pizzas that taste pretty decent as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And then we did pizza Rizzo another day when we were at Hollywood Studios, and so in terms of like the quick services and stuff, like those worked really well, like doing those the little personal pizzas, doing chicken fingers and stuff like that. I mean, like for a kid, that's all they need. And
Tell me, Pizza Rizzo. At least you went upstairs to the wedding reception hall.
We tried.
Okay.
So we were. My son and I were about to go up, and then but a cast member had closed off the stairs because there was some broken glass or something like that all over them, and they had to clean up. So and unfortunately we had a reservation coming up not too long after that.
Is a former wedding reception DJ that
nice.
They nailed it on the aesthetic up there, man. I'm telling you what, man, that makes me want to play Unforgettable by Natalie
Nice.
Cole every time I'm up there. Like it's the mother's son dance, ladies and gentlemen. Let's hear it for the mom and the groom and his mom. All right.
No, it was just one of those funny feelings of like so close yet so far.
Exactly. That's so weird though. I mean, like they got it up there. It's just like it's the weirdest aesthetic, but God, they got it right. It's just it's like they're in my past. Anyway, so give us a couple other great places you guys done.
We did Kona Cafe. I think it was like the second night that we were there. I'm not a big drinker, but I got a Lapu Lapu, which was again a kind of a bucket list item for me to it's hard to spend $20 on a drink, and $20 US too, which is like $27-$28 Canadian. So it's a lot of money, but it was very good, and I'm glad that I finally did it.
If you're not a big and I'm not a big drinker either, but I mean a Lapu Lapu, it gets you. I mean that thing's a pretty powerful drink too. It's
it is, for sure. But but I enjoyed it, and every once in a while you got to treat yourself. So
exactly.
So that's what I decided to do. In terms of we end up doing Captain Cook's for breakfast a lot of days, like especially with our proximity to the main lodge. Like I mean, I just would kind of wake up, do a mobile order for our food, run in, grab it, come back, and it was a good way to start the day. Like just having a good quick breakfast before getting out the door as well. And we did Mama Melrose one night as well, which was good. My son enjoyed it too. I just really liked the atmosphere of that restaurant in general. Like, man, I know that it's kind of one of those places doesn't always get the best reviews and everything, but I mean, to me the food was pretty good, and the the overall atmosphere was really nice as well. But definitely the best. Well, actually, two of the better ones we had. Finally got to Casey's, which I'd never eaten at Casey's before. So like, I'm glad to we were finally able to do that, and got to sit outside. And basically, as soon as we finished eating, the Festival Fantasy Parade came by. So then we just kind of like ran over a few feet and just we're watching the parade go by, which was awesome. But we did Space 220 as well one day for lunch, and that was just a phenomenal time. I mean, very expensive, but definitely worthwhile. I mean, like, just the whole thing of like, going in, going into the space elevator, and then walking out into the main dining room. I mean, like, it was, we were in space, and like, my son thought it was so cool. It's like, wow, I can't believe like we're in space. How are we in space? That, only took like a few, couple minutes, and right, like, but yeah, it was just so well done in there too, and the food was good. Most expensive plate of pasta ever.
100%, because you're paying for the experience, right? I mean, space elevators don't come cheap.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but no, I find that it's one of those things like that, like, despite the price tag and everything, like I don't hear a lot of people complaining about it, because like I hear them say like it's well worth it, because that the experience, the atmosphere is just so good, and you can't beat it. I think if you're a kid who is basically like, wow, I'm in space, right?
Right. And perfect age. I mean, again, perfect age for really anything at Walt Disney World, but especially for a meal like that, because I mean, that is taking you to a different time and place. I mean,
Yeah.
boom, it's so immersive. And you're right, we don't talk about that very often on here. So I'm glad we got to discuss that today. So a couple of minutes left. Let's kind of revisit real quick at the end here that you did have that opportunity to kind of go back into the parks after you said your son usually went to bed around 8 or so.
Yeah.
In a crash, and you could do that with a proximity to the Magic Kingdom and the Epcot via monorail too. At the Polynesian. So how did that work out? Going back into the park solo and just kind of hitting classics or e-tickets or favorites. I mean, was it like a kid in a candy store kind of situation, or
100%.
I mean, because I mean, I go through it, kind of what it is for me, but tell us about that experience.
Yeah, 100%. So it was I had 2 nights where I was able to go back in, and both nights ended up being Magic Kingdom nights just because of the park schedules. So like I would have loved to have done a different park. The second time I went out, but I thought, hey, there are definitely worse places to be than Magic Kingdom twice. At night. So the first time that I went, I got there basically as everyone was parked on Main Street for fireworks. And in the central hub. So I basically went in. I'd made a Genie Plus reservation for Space Mountain. I walked onto Space Mountain. There was nobody in the back half of the park, like at all. So because everyone was waiting for fireworks. So I did Space Mountain, Haunted Mansion, Big Thunder, and Pirates within like half an hour. And and everything was a walk on. Like Haunted Mansion had the 13-minute sign up. It was a walk on. Big Thunder was a walk on, and I was able to take pictures of the fireworks as they were happening while I was on it. So I'm sliding around in the roller coaster with my phone out, trying to take video and pictures and stuff like that. But yeah, that was a really cool experience to see the fireworks while I was on Big Thunder. But I think that the coolest of the 4 was Pirates. I was on a boat by myself.
Oh man, see, I've heard of people, and I've been there like late, early. I never had that. That's
yeah. I guess trying during fireworks is, and it was funny because I got off the attraction, and I mean I loved it because I was able to just kind of I was looking around the whole time, because then no one's thinking I'm a weirdo or anything like that, like looking all over the place. But yeah, it was just that great thing for me where I was able to just kind of take in everything that I wanted to take in, right? Because there was nobody to bother around me. When I got off, the cast member was like, so is it weird being seeing all the animatronics and everything like that when you're by yourself? I can see how some people might be creeped out by it, but
I can totally see that. Yeah. It'd be a slightly eerie. Yeah.
But no, I really enjoyed it. It was a great experience. And then the second night that did Magic Kingdom, there was extra magic hours for deluxe hotel guests that night. But some of the shows and stuff still ended at 9:00. So basically, when I got in, I went to Carousel Progress because it's one of my favorites. And I have to do that this trip. I know my son won't sit through it, so I've got to do it on my own. And yeah, it just sat.
Okay, I was sticking up for your son, but we got to get him on the Carousel Progress thing.
Yeah.
It's just for the music. I mean, he's got to sing the song.
For sure.
He can. Okay, I'll give him with the Lion King. I mean, I love that show. That show's awesome over at Animal Kingdom, but I'll cut him some slack there. It's kind of long and it's like a musical. But Carousel Progress, man, we'll have to talk. He's got to get into that.
Yeah, he definitely has to. Yeah. When he's a bit older, I think he'll appreciate it more. But yeah, no, I got to sit front row center for that, and took a bunch of pictures and stuff like that as well. Just some of the details, because I love looking around, during the scene at all the details and everything that are going on there. It's a lot of fun. And then had a short wait for Seven Dwarfs Mine Train as well before I headed back to the hotel as well, because I figured, hey, not a lot of opportunities to ride that with a short wait. So
never. I mean, yeah, I had one. It was at the media event before they opened it. That was the last time I had a short wait for Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. I got to ride it with a kid from Good Luck Charlie.
Wow.
I know. Gabe. So that's my claim to fame. Gabe and Grumpy Cat were there because everybody was around this cat, and I had no idea who it was. So I turned to Pam Forrester. I said, "Why is everybody around that big ugly cat?" And she's like, "You don't know who that is? That's Grumpy Cat." I'm like, "Who is Grumpy Cat?" She's like, "It's a meme." I'm so dumb because it's like in 2014. I'm like, "What's a meme?" She's like, "You're so dumb." She's like, just look them up on the internet. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay. And she's like, that cat's worth like $5 million.
Yeah, that's
I'm like,
crazy.
shut up. What's wrong with me? Like, why don't I have an ugly cat that's worth $5 million that's being carried around and fed caviar?
Yeah, I've got to get mine to pull his weight a little bit more.
Seriously. Ricky's got, I'm telling you, Ricky's sitting on this dog. You might have seen her pop up on the video every once in a while.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's ugly as sin, but I mean, it's so ugly. She should make it a meme. It's got like this underbite. She could be a millionaire. I keep telling her this, but
Nice.
everybody can hear it now. So there you go on the podcast.
There you go. It's worth a try.
This dog, he's so ugly. He's cute. Anyway, so as we wrap, so give us one last memory from this trip. Was there like a moment that sticks out from this trip? Because I think every trip kind of has like like a seminal moment that like sticks with you. So is there one from this trip?
Yeah, we I mean, all the character interactions that we had were just so great. And yeah, at first we weren't sure if my son was going to be afraid of them or if he was just going to be have like some trepidation about meeting them and everything, but he just ended up loving them so much that we ended up doing a ton of them. But Minnie Mouse in particular he fell in love with. And there was a night where we were at the resort, and we were in the I forget if it was boutique or if it was the other shop, and he saw like a mini plush, and he just like kind of came up to us, said like I really want to take Minnie home. I go like how come? It's like because she's so beautiful and I love her. And we're just like it especially with boys, like those things aren't going to last, I think, for too long. So it's just kind of one of those moments that we definitely treasure quite a bit, just like how he interacted with all the characters and how much he loved them and everything. And we got PhotoPass, which was amazing because like we didn't have to worry about doing those pictures and like worrying who had the camera, who was doing this or that. Everything was kind of taken care of. And that just really, I think, like helped quite a bit as well, just to capture all those memories. So
absolutely. And when he goes away to college and you find that Minnie Mouse, you'll be like a bawling blubber of dad. I'm just saying, just be ready.
I'm sure.
Now that you have PhotoPass and Memory Maker, you got to have a picture of you solo on that boat on Pirates.
I do, absolutely, I do. Yeah,
get that thing on a frame.
Yeah, yeah. It's my Facebook profile picture.
Okay, good. I was gonna say that's epic. Now that I know you have PhotoPass, because you got a picture of that.
Yes,
I was gonna ask. I was like, I probably didn't have PhotoPass, but now that I know you did, I'm like, oh, you got photographic evidence of you in the boat on Pirates.
Yes, I do.
I love it. Well, Julius, thanks so much for coming on the show. What a great trip report. I mean, it's a great resource for folks heading down, and just a great way to start the week, man. I was right with you visually going through the Polynesian and all the parts, man, Space
Awesome.
220 and all that. So I really appreciate it. And I know it's kind of late to say this, but Happy New Year. And I hope 2024 is a great year for you and the family up in Canada.
Thanks for you too as well. Thank you.
So is there anywhere people could check you out online? You got anything going on though before we jump out of here? Because I know you you had the old show, but and I had to pull it down for a little bit, just obviously just because of hosting costs and everything like that. But I found a new host for it, so I'm gonna be kind of taking my better episodes I did over the years and reposting them. So Storybook Radio is the name of the podcast, and then also did another one just this past winter or this past fall called Campfire Christmas, which is just like a little 6-part miniseries on the history of Christmas. I'm hoping to do another kind of short season, this coming fall as well, and hopefully make it kind of a yearly thing. But because I love Christmas as well. Disney and Christmas are a couple of my favorite things, obviously. So, but yeah, I'm hoping to bring back some new episodes of Storybook Radio in the near future. I'm doing some research and doing some writing right now, so yeah, hopefully I'll be able to kind of record some in the next few weeks, few months kind of thing. So yeah. All right. Well, check it out. Well, hey, good luck with that. And
thank you.
Thanks for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
Don't forget, today's show brought to you by the Magic for Less Travel. We are standing by this week to help you plan a great Walt Disney World, Disneyland, Disney Cruise Line, Adventures by Disney trip. Just swing by the website today over at themagicforless.com. Please also use our Amazon affiliate link at beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. Those clicks support everything we do throughout the year. And thank you so very much to our Patreon supporters. You guys make the show possible. If you're a Patreon supporter, you can support us at just $5 a month, less than a Starbucks for a whole month. And you get a bonus show every week. It's called Mike in the Midwest. They're a lot of fun. So come on over and support us this week. Patreon.com/beourguestpodcast. Give me a follow on social media at BRGuestMike, Instagram, Twitter, and Threads. And also, we have a live call-in show this Sunday night, 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central. We turn the show over to you. You give us a call, and you talk Disney with us. And we'll be on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram. So give us a holler. We'll talk Disney with you Sunday night, 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central. We'll be waiting for your call. All right, we're jumping out of here. So for Julius up in Canada, I'm Mike here in the good old USA, Missouri. You guys have a great week. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon. That was awesome. Thank you so much. Man, that sounds like a fun trip.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it definitely was, and yeah, like so we're thinking like when's the next time we're gonna go, because he really is that perfect age to go. So
I miss that age,
and to keep going, but yeah, it's expensive.
I know it is, but man, it goes fast because now mine are 27 and 16. God, it goes quick. I'm telling you.
Yeah. So hopefully, maybe not 2024, but 2025. I think for sure we'll try to head down again. But we're also thinking Disneyland. So yeah, who knows?
Exactly. I'm telling you, man, you would love, because I didn't go to Disneyland forever. People kept telling me, dude, you gotta go. I was like, I won't like it. I don't like it. I went out there, I fell in love with the place, and I'm telling you what, you would love it. It's so easy. It's so easy, and you'd
for sure.
So make it happen. All right. Well, hey, have a good night. I appreciate it, because I know you're busy. I appreciate the time. So just take care of that family.
Yeah, we'll do. All right. You too. Later, hey, have a good one. Bye.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye. No. 24, 27. Dude, I almost wrote this show. 24, 27. Whew, that was close.